Hi everyone, welcome back to another In Conversation with Sunette. I'm going to need my spectacles or my glasses for this one, and my cousin actually said, "Ooh, I like your glasses," and they are quite nice. They've got some nice detail. There's like a aqua green line there, and it's got little green hearts on the ears, and but it wasn't really the right choice of spectacles for me, and I'll tell you the story quickly why. Pardon me. I don't have my eyes tested regularly enough, I must say. I still use my old prescription glasses the most, because this frame was a wrong choice completely. I am, let me notice, I'm nearsighted. No, I'm farsighted. I am farsighted. I can see perfectly far, but I can't read. So my spectacles are basically only for reading. And when I used to play in the orchestra, I needed my spectacles to be able to read my music, which is fairly close to me. But then I also needed to make eye contact and see the conductor, which was quite far away. So I had small rimmed spectacles so that I wear them here on the tip of my nose so that I can look over the specs to see what's going on there. No, I don't want bifocals. I know that you get bifocals, and I tried the trifocal thing as well. The trifocal thing did not work for me at all. It made me feel very, very, very sick. For that specific pair of specs, I went to Specsavers, and I had my eyes tested. The test was completed, and it was then time for me to go through all the frames and to choose a nice frame, which I thought would be nice to wear. And it took me a while to go. There's a lot of frames. It took me quite a while to go through everything, and I made my choice, and I presented my choice to the lady at reception, and which was not really the right response. The response she gave me wasn't the right response, but she said to me, "Oh, are you sure you want to take that pair? Because it is a very, very cheap pair, and your medical aid is prepared to pay up to such and such an amount." I said to her, "Okay, I really like this frame, but it's fine. I will then go through all the frames again. Give me another hour or so, and I will see if I can find another pair of frames which I like," which I did. I went through all the frames again, tried everything on, and I made my choice. And I went to the reception lady and I presented my choice, and she said, "But these frames are cheaper than the ones that you chose before this one." So I said to her, "Well, this is it then. I'm not going to force myself into taking a frame which is then expensive because my medical aid is going to pay for it. I've now chosen two cheap frames, which I think looks the best with my face, and I do have a difficult face to choose frames, I must say." And I said to her, "I am therefore going to settle for this cheap frame." And I actually got a lot of compliments for that specific pair of glasses. My elder sister really likes them, but they're so old now that the little screw here on the side has worked out, and I lost it. And I did go to them. They replace it for you for free. And she was actually so kind. These little nose things are loose on the other one. She adjusted that for me, tightened them up in really good service, comeback service. But I think I wore them for a month, and that little screw worked out again, and I lost the screw again, and now I'm believe it or not, I've put that pair, of which it's loose now, yeah. And I sometimes lose the glass because of that. But I've now put that one in my handbag, as I just want to have a sip of coffee. I've put that one in my handbag. That's the one I actually use in public. Nuts, I know. These are there are so many nut cases in my life and my personality. I actually have a whole nut bag full of them. And then Shamel said, after the first YouTube video, she said she actually liked this pair. She likes my specs, but it's not a practical pair. It's too big, so I can't really look over them if I want to see something far, and I mustn't try to look at something far with them on, because it makes my tummy turn and go all funny. But I am going to do some reading today, and I hope that it's not going to come across as too reading something to you. Okay, shall we call this all my little anecdotes? Well, I've got another one to tell about drinking coffee. So many stories. For somebody that's got a boring, lonely life, I do have a lot to say for myself, I must say. But okay, let me just concentrate on the coffee story. When I went to that church activity with my hairdresser, she said, wait, she's going to stop at the filling station and buy each of us a coffee. You know, that special coffee. You know, that's top of the range coffee. But you get it in these takeaway containers. You know, these cups, and then you've got the little handle that you shift over so that you don't burn yourself, and then the little takeaway cover with the tout, and then they've got a stopper, which I used completely wrong. It was very embarrassing because everybody was standing behind us, and I took one of these. That is, if you walk or you put it in your car, that it doesn't mess. It's like a little stopper in that dart, and it actually, if you pushes it down, it clips in. Excuse me. In any case, and I use this little stopper. Completely not the right way. The girl behind the counter had to explain how to use this stopper correctly, and then it reminded me, and I actually told her the story, and it's actually coming up in what I'm going to discuss. I'm going to discuss a part of my personality today, which is that I am a highly sensitive person. But let me just finish. I jump so around so much that I think the people can't actually follow me, because then I will all of a sudden remember here halfway on one of my detours that I was actually busy telling you something about that, and then you can't really tie the ends nicely together. And then I told her that lately I've been watching a lot of Hallmark movies on TV. Not on TV, on my phone. I don't watch TV. And which are nice for me. There's Hallmark romantic movies, and then there is Hallmark mystery movies. Now, the romantic movies are basically schooled on a cookie press mold. So these Hallmark movie, the main female characters normally have, they've got a limited um, variety of professions that they cast these women in, and it's either a bakery or a florist or an events planner, mainly weddings or photography. Pardon me. Um, I'll tell you the story about the burping now. I really do not have any control over it. Very embarrassing. And it's okay if you only watch one movie now and again. But if you now watch a lot of them clubbing, nie mama se maak nie hoor. If you watch a lot of them, then it can become a little bit boring and tedious to watch because everything is literally cast in the same mold. And then they also have Hallmark romance and mystery movies, which I actually also started to watch, which is nice for me because the murders and the stuff are uh, very watered down. You don't see um, that the gruesomeness taking place, which is part of what I am going to discuss in this video. Really, it makes a lot of sense for me now because lots of my friends want me to watch TV with them. I don't watch TV anymore, and or want to watch something else like a horror movie or a thriller, and then I decline the invitation, and then there's normally a little bit of frustration from their part, but because they can't understand why, but there is a reason why, which I will come to just now. But back to the Hallmark mystery movies. Pardon me. They will, without exception, always buy one of a takeaway coffee or a takeaway hot chocolate at one of these bakery shops or at a street stall or whatever. And it is so obvious that those cups are empty. Why they don't put something in there for them to drink, only they will know. If they don't want to drink the coffee or the tea, just put a little bit of water in, because water can't make you fat if you must do more than one take of a scene. Because you can clearly see that there's nothing in the cup. The cups are empty. It's not hot to hold. They sometimes forget they have this cup that's supposed to be filled with hot coffee or hot chocolate. They will use their hands with this cup in, and the cup will tilt, and you can see that there's nothing in. And you can actually also, when they put the cups down, and it's just one thing that irritates me of the Hallmark mystery movies. It's petty, I know, but it does work on my nerves because now I've seen it. So every time that they buy one of these takeaway drinks, I'm just, I give all the details some attention. You can also hear it's a empty cup that they put down. But the most difficult thing of it all, I said to my mom, you know how difficult it is if you must pretend that you are drinking something and you take a sip of nothing, because now they must pretend as they must swallow it, and there's nothing in your mouth to swallow. Uh, yeah, you don't get that, and there's no extra moisture in the mouth in the mouth after they've taken a sip, and yeah, that's sort of not really true to reality for me. That's just a pet peeve of mine, which I have regarding the Hallmark movies. But otherwise, I do enjoy watching the Hallmark movies. I find it relaxing part time. Now I had to become quite old, and like I said in my previous video, that YouTube feeds you stuff, and they zoom in on your preferences that they have now discovered, or targets. But then there's a lot of other material that you miss. And I suppose if I go into the personality disorders, which I did with the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, I'll explain to you now why I'm not drinking coffee, and I actually shouldn't do this when I record a video. I need to take myself back to the doctor for a doctor's appointment. And also with Meghan Markle and with the Meghan Markle debacle, I sometimes go and look at personality disorders, and also because I recognize quite a few characteristics in myself. And I do think that that is something that happens when you do stay alone and you are happy to be with yourself, only with yourself, and a lot are obviously in your own company all the time, is that you do start to have a lot of introspection. You do really get to know the hard reality of yourself, who and what you are, without having any masks on and any pretense to impress other people. I drank a heart tablet now. I've been having awareness, which is also, I hope that it is going to part of what I'm going to discuss today. But I do need to take myself to the doctor. I now had a pill which I normally don't have this time of the day. They normally say you can't love other people before you have learned to love yourself. And there is no quicker way of doing it than to be with yourself. But it is hard to admit to yourself where your shortcomings are, and what's wrong with you, what other people might not like about you. And that now opens lots of other extra avenues of discussion, like trying to change people, which I think most of us do, that comes into your immediate environment and share your daily space on a regular basis as we try to change other people. Parents try to change their children. Partners try to change one another, which I think is the breeding ground of a lot of problems that we have in society, and a lot of what's the right word I'm looking now for, not well adjusted people, dysfunctional people, dysfunctional families, dysfunctional relationships, because we do not accept people for who and what they truly and really are. I had to go to the heart specialist it was the end of November, literally right at the end of the month last year, because once you had a heart attack, and I don't really know why the I do have a theory why the heart specialists do that, that they book you for a yearly checkup. Because sometimes I think maybe it depends on how your heart problem manifested or what your heart problem is all about. And I do think in some cases you do need to go for a yearly checkup, but I do not think in my case a yearly checkup is really warranted, um, because I think what they can see with the echogram, is it called an echogram, and the stress uh, ECG on the treadmill um, is limited. I think angiogram is really the best thing if they want to see where the blocked arteries are if you have a cholesterol problem, which I have. I have familial cholesterol, which I inherited from my mother's side. And my normal cholesterol figures, and I know our figures in South Africa are different from some countries overseas, so maybe these figures won't make any sense to you. But my normal cholesterol without medication runs here at 14, 15. I know there's a good cholesterol and a bad cholesterol, a HDL and a LDL, and then they also have like a combined figure. And I have always been told that no matter if I eat salad leaves every day for the rest of my life, I will never have a good normal cholesterol, which makes you a high risk for a potential heart attack in any case. And my grandfather on my mother's side, I think, died at the age of 72 of a severe heart attack. And before that heart attack, he had a heart attack previously to the one that actually took his life. Funnily enough, my mom's got a high cholesterol. She's 87. I had to go and see the heart specialist at the end of last year, and for some other reason I had a really good cholesterol. My cholesterol was 2.4. Taking medication that I have taken for 7 years. Looking at what I eat, specifically at my diet, and the 2.4 cholesterol, for some other reason, wasn't good enough for him. And 2.4 is an excellent cholesterol, especially if you look at it that in lieu of the fact that I have inherited cholesterol problems, which is problematic to get within acceptable levels. And he wanted my cholesterol to be 1.7. Crazy. And then he adjusted my medication. He made some of my medication stronger, and he also changed the original one to the generic. And I said to him, "Doctor, I've got problems with medication. I've got a tendency to have funny reactions to medications. I'm not sure whether it's a good idea to mess around with something that has been working for 7 years." He made some remark that maybe I am allergic to the coloring in the coating of the tablets, which just actually proved that he wasn't taking me seriously, and he sent me away with his prescription. So it wasn't long after that I started to uncontrollably belch and burp, especially after I have eaten. It's going to cut out now. Especially after I had a meal. and it was getting progressively worse because my eldest. Well, here is a very good did you know question for you. Did you know that your phone only allows you a certain amount of time to record a video, and then it will cut out um, to prevent overheating? Well, that's not what happened here, and it seems like it's got a a memory of the date, and that you are only allowed to record X amount. I'm not being silly, but you are only allowed to record X amount of time video footage a day, because it just didn't let me carry on. It was 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Um, so I hope I can just get a little bit more done. The longest that it will allow me to record will be an hour. So I was busy discussing the heart attack and the heart specialist and the medication that he prescribed, and that a lot of burping and belching started to occur. And I thought to myself, it's just a little bit of burping. It is unflattering, it is unladylike, it is not very feminine, but it's harmless. I will just have to live with it. I really didn't think anything more of it than that it's something that's happening and that it will eventually go away, because it just started to appear out of the blue. But my elder sister, when she was here on a Christmas vacation, made some comments about it, that it's really now on the go or active or whatever. And eventually, it wasn't the burping, it was my stomach. All sorts of things started to happen. I started to feel very weird. And I always equate everything that starts to feel funny in my head to a possible heart attack, which I have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome because of the trigger symptoms, and then I will rush to the ER because I think I'm now having another heart attack, and I was starting to feel extremely funny, extremely strange. My body started to feel lame, as if I don't have much control over my legs and my arms, and I had difficulty falling asleep, and strange things going on in my head, and feeling lightheaded and dizzy and nauseous. A lot of different things started to happen all at once, and then and it normally happens when it's nighttime. And then I would get panicky, and I will get into my car, and I will drive to my mother, and I will go and sleep there, and it will persist, and sometimes it will start to lift here at 12 o'clock in the night or 2 o'clock the next morning. And it carried on like this, and I will go to the ER, and I will take myself to the doctor's consulting rooms, and when I'm at the ER, then they will just check for my heart, and if the ECG is not abnormal, then they will look at me funny, as if I'm a hypochondriac, and they will send me home, and I will still feel just as sick. And this carried on for some time, and I started to experience extreme discomfort in my stomach and in my colon. It was a warm, burning, firing feeling. I couldn't eat anything. I was nauseous all the time. I was in pain all the time. I probably have been having one of the, I would say, top worst times in my life this whole year. It has been extremely unpleasant. And then I got COVID, and the May COVID, and my COVID starts invariably in my stomach. I lose my appetite, and then I get nauseous, and then the vomiting starts, and the diarrhea starts, and the fever starts, and then I had the COVID bout, and then I did not come right, and I was scheduled then for a colonoscopy and a scope, which was the 22nd of September. That appointment I had to wait 4 months for, because there's 5 gastrologists in Port Elizabeth, and they were all so full. That was the first vacancy there was for me to go to the doctor. And of course, all sorts of things go through your mind that, it's cancer or what is going on. But in that time, my GP had to still, oh no, what's the word? Uh, treat me. He still had to treat me to try and relieve some of the symptoms, because I couldn't eat. I could hold in some scrambled eggs in sure, which is like a powder that you mix for old people and very sick people if they can't eat anymore, and apple juice and grape juice without any fizz in. And yes, my relationship with food changed completely. And it's hard if you find yourself in a painful relationship with food where you can't eat. And then they took a biopsy. There was a non-cancerous polyp that he removed during the process, and they did a biopsy of the stomach lining and of the colon lining. And what the biopsy indicated, that I have chronic inflammation of the stomach lining and of the digestive tract. There's also a small intestine as well, and the colon, and gastritis, chronic gastritis, and the of unknown cause. So it's not your normal bacteria that will cause Crohn's disease or the Helicobacter pylori, if that's now pronounced correctly. Um, so it's not the normal reasons why you would have this problem, which makes it now very difficult to treat. But I think it was medication related, because 3 of the heart medications, 2 of the statins, which is the cholesterol lower medicines, and then the one that I started to drink again, which is the one that's controlling the adrenaline release in an effort to keep your blood pressure down and regulate the heart rhythm, has got indigestion problems as a side effect, if you look at the side effects. And I think it was just a combination of all 3 of that, which just then started a disastrous chain reaction. And the funny part was, I don't have an ulcer. I was treated for a stomach ulcer. Fortunately, I don't have a stomach ulcer. And the doctor was also giving me medicine for irritable bowel syndrome, which I also don't have. I don't have an irritable bowel syndrome, colon, a spastic colon. But the problem is, and I knew that it wasn't a stomach ulcer, because the minute that I eat or drink something, it is not 15 seconds. When it lands in my stomach, I start to belch and I start to burp. And then I think about, I also look at this 90 day fiance, 90 Day Fiance, is that the right word for the program? I don't really look at the program. I used to look at it on TV, and then now that I don't look at TV, I like to watch Arthur's TV on YouTube. A young guy, very well prepared, very well spoken, and he's a reaction channel. I like to watch his 90 Day Fiance clips, and there was this guy, I can't remember now these two contestants names were. Short guy, and I think his girlfriend was Colombian or something. In any case, there was a whole thing on 90 Day Fiance where she was very happy because if they were intimate and he was on top of her, that he would fart and belch and burp, and she didn't like that, and they had like a huge fight over that, and of course that gave a lot of reaction channels nice material to work with. And I actually asked in the comments section, now, what if you can't help it? I can't stop my life and living because that it's really, and I would never have thought in my wildest dreams, but it is really a medical condition I've got absolutely no control over. And how do I now stop my life? How do I stop living it? Because that has happened to me. You can just try and burp in the most feminine way that you possibly can. Which is just disastrous. But in any case, that's the story of what the heart medication actually caused a huge stomach upset, and it flares up. I have like good days, and I have bad weeks, and it's not like irritable bowel syndrome where you know that you must stay away from beans or you must stay away from spicy food, because it's not irritable bowel syndrome. There is no pattern to what foods actually triggers it. Nothing. I just think it depends on where my immune system is in the spectrum. If I have a strong day or something is irritating my immune system and it is acting up, I don't know. But it is a very much a roller coaster ride at this point in time. But I had to get to this stage in my life, being an old person, to actually came across, and I said about the feeds, how YouTube actually feeds certain things on your YouTube page, what they think that you are interested in, or what they pick up that you are interested in, and in a way you miss out on some other stuff which you wouldn't even have thought to search for. I do sometimes search for personality disorders and like OCD and hoarding and narcissism and things like that. And then I came across, and I never thought that would give a very rounded explanation of who I am. An article on "Are you a highly sensitive person?" an HSP. Would you ever have thought that there is actually something like that, a group with certain characteristics that will basically put you into that group of being a highly sensitive person? And I definitely think if I look at my whole life gone by, that I am and always has been a highly sensitive person, that actually fits my profile, which then takes you also into other branches of conversation, where I don't know, maybe I shouldn't discuss that now. Maybe I should leave that for another video of parents that must tread carefully, that they don't think that all the children, if they have more than one child, will be exactly the same, and that you can treat them all exactly the same across board, because your children is definitely not all the same. I am not my elder sister, and I'm not my middle sister. I'm actually extremely, extremely different from them. And for my parents to have tried to treat me the same way as they did them didn't really do me as a person, and my preparation as for becoming a stable, well-adjusted adult for the rest of my life, um, yeah, didn't really do me any favors as far as that concerned. And I always used to experience myself from very, very, very young as being different. I was aware of the fact that I was different from other people. I Before I even went to school, so it wasn't even that stress that little toddlers experience when they must go uh, to school for the first time. That separation anxiety that they experience, because mine lasted for my whole school career. And I just never wanted to not be at home. I did not like not being at home. I hated school, and I hated going to school, and I wasn't liked by the other children in school, and I wasn't liked by the teachers in school. And I think it was because I was slightly different, and people did not really know how to interact or react to the fact that I was slightly different. And I think they find my personality maybe a little bit repellent or off-putting, not relatable to, which then in itself caused for a lot of stress then again in my life, because even though I was that young, 6 to 10 years old, 10, 11 years old, I knew that I was extremely unpopular. I knew that I was completely and totally misunderstood all the time. I knew I felt awkward and maybe not always acted in, I can't, this will now sound wrong, but it's not as deviated as that would sound, in a socially accepted manner. I knew all that. I was very aware of that, which made it more stressful for me because I didn't know what to do to fix that. I didn't know how to change myself so that people will like me more or would like to spend more time with me, or when I did stuff that people would interpret as offensive, I would then try to actually explain that that was not my intention. They have misinterpreted my reaction or what was said or what I did. And then I wasn't allowed the opportunity to explain myself, because in those days you did not talk back to a grown up or a teacher. You just take whatever was dealt out in silence, and you keep your mouth shut. Um, and that was extremely, extremely difficult for me. And this article that I then came across actually explained everything um, more clearly to me, where as a highly sensitive person, you experience your environment and what goes on in your environment um, more more acutely, and therefore you feel, oh, you get this sense of feeling overwhelmed by life. uh, Everything is just too much for you. What this article say is that to be a highly sensitive person, an HSP, is not a disorder. It is not classified as a personality disorder. It is more a personality trait, and it's not really something that can be treated or that you can change with therapy, or that is fixable. That is who you are. That's your makeup as a person, that you will have to learn to deal with um, through the rest of your life, which I only really learned to deal with very late in my adult life, I would say. Um, and one of the things that the articles say is that a highly sensitive person is an ultra sensitive person to sensory input. A highly sensitive person is ultra sensitive to sensory input and people in the people in the environment, and to what happens in the environment around you. And being not a personality disorder, but more a trait, something that you must work on or can work on, you should try and develop some coping skills, um, which was non-existent as a, a young child. I mean, what I couldn't even define what was, or make sense of what was going on with me in those days. Never mind trying to identify how I can fix it. That's something I think that I could only address in my more adult life, and that was coping skills, and to set and maintain appropriate boundaries. You have to learn to not be afraid and scared to know your limitations. Nobody knows as good as I do how I experience things and what is going on in my life, in and around me. And neither would they know if they are, if I don't convey that to them. Navigating relationships is something that a person should work on. But it's hard to explain to a friend or a potential partner that this is who you are and this is what you can expect, than to be in the situation. For instance, I did mention the fact that I don't like to watch TV. I don't like to uh, watch the news. I don't watch horror films. For instance, I never watched Silence of the Lambs. I never watched that epic Mel Gibson movie, Braveheart, because uh, the horses, and I know it's just acting and a movie in the making, and that they make sure that no harm is being done to any of the animals, but I couldn't look at it. It was just too upsetting for me. And I hate looking at thrillers and horror movies, and I can't stand to look at the victims when they beg um, for mercy, when they beg to please don't kill me. I just find it extremely upsetting, and then those things will mull through my mind over and over again for weeks on end, after watching movies like that and scenes like that, and then I can't sleep at night, and it will give me nightmares. And um, I think that's what makes maybe all empaths are highly sensitive people, I would imagine. And I also would think that that makes up the bulk of the personality traits of the vegans in the vegan community, that they are highly sensitive people with a certain set of characteristics that you can actually identify yourself with. You can't really call it symptoms because it's not an illness. And then they say that high sensitivity is most closely associated with consci- conscientiousness, which I did find extremely interesting, because I always thought I'm OCD, and I would imagine that there is a lot of OCD in me, but I do not have rituals. I don't perform any rituals. I do not have that. I can't, for instance, step on the grouting of a tiled floor, or I must switch the light off 5 times before I can go to bed, or I need to wash my hands in a certain order always, or I must scrub myself with a scrubbing brush for at least 10 times before my hands are cleaned. And I think a lot of OCD people um, present um, themselves also as germophobic. I think they become over aware of cleaning stuff, and the cleanliness of their environment. And so I think that's a big aspect of OCD, which I don't have. I also know that being OCD or having OCD tendencies is when you feel that you don't have much control over certain aspects in your life. You feel powerless, basically. And then you then it manifests in OCD behavior, where you do things where you actually do feel that you have control over. So I do have control over how clean I keep my house. I do have control over how neat I keep the inside of my cupboards. I do have control over how I pack things in my cupboards. And being organized, I think, takes a lot of stress away from a person, that you don't have to deal with looking for stuff, searching for stuff when you need something, or untidiness, because I find my progressively untidy nature also as stressful. But in a way, it is counteracting and counterbalancing um, that the OCD doesn't become problematic. If that makes sense at all. um, they say that high sensitivity is okay. No, it's just back to the conscientiousness, and the fact that highly sensitive people apparently are described as being careful or detail orientated people. Um, And I think that describes me to a T. Uh, when it comes to packing, for instance, you will see when um, I've got an area in my garden where I've laid out a garden path with some pavers, and you can buy bags of pebbles at our nurseries, which I did. I bought pebbles so that I could do all the areas between the pavers with pebbles. But it just all of a sudden started to work on my nerves because the pebbles all looked different. They were all different sizes, and I just couldn't get it to look really nice and neat. And I then decided that I'm going to pick up pebbles. That's where the sea view runs actually came from. That all resembles the same shape. Um, they all look the same. But I work with big ones, medium ones, and small ones. And I could just as well just throw the pebbles between the pavers, which would be the same thing to do. Um, because Prada, most of my animals keep to the path. But Prada is has got too much energy and she's bombastic. And she just zooms once through there to the gate. And all the pebbles I have taken hours to pack is just lying all over the place. And then I cannot get it back into place. Once she has destroyed the layout, then I can't get it back into place. Because it's like a puzzle. And I sit for hours doing it, wasting my time. And every time I say to McDavid, when I do that, I am really wasting my time. I don't know why I do that. I should actually just throw the pebbles, because I do the big ones at the bottom and then the medium on top, and then the small ones is the last layer that I throw. And once that bottom big pebble layer has been disrupted, I cannot get it back just to do that small section. I will have to pick it up and start all over again. That is just something crazy, the detail in my mind that how that works. But in any case, they say high sensitivity is also linked to introversion. I think I was very, very introverted in my younger days. I think with help and learning some coping skills, I have become a mixture of introvert and extrovert, which they say do exist. And they do say that the level of being an introvert or an extrovert can change excuse toch, with time or with age. And I think at some point in time in my early 20s, I was severely social phobic. I do find that my life has been handicapped by phobias. I'm almost so scared of dying that I don't know how to really live life and enjoy life. It is terrible to say, but that is my reality. I'm too scared to fly because I think the plane is going to fall out of the air just when I'm in that plane for that flight, for instance. I hate going on roller coaster rides, and to go on the rides that you have at a fair, a playground, because I'm scared something is going to happen and I'm going to lose my life, which is so crazy, because my heart attack should have taught me that you don't have to go anywhere. You can be 100% healthy, fit person. And basically, if it's your time to go, and I do believe that, then it's your time to go. Because my heart attacks happened when it was over Easter weekend, and it actually woke me 2 o'clock the Monday morning out of a deep sleep. And I wasn't in an aeroplane. I wasn't on some scary ride at a play park. I don't know what you call them. They do have a name. I wasn't in a car accident. I wasn't doing bungee jumping. I was sleeping in my bed. And yet, although my brain knows that, I have not become less phobic. I'm actually just more phobic, because I am now constantly aware of the fact. Like the one woman, when my mother and myself were sitting in the waiting room at the hospital, waiting to go to, I was waiting to go to the ward for the colonoscopy and the scope. There was another lady sitting there, and we were talking, and my mom always gets upset with me. She says to me that I'm obsessed with death. And I am obsessed with death. I have become obsessed with death. And the way that I think about things has become more warped actually than what it used to be previously. I will look at things and the funniest stuff will cross my mind, just weird stuff. And and my mom said, you know, I must stop talking so much about death and thinking about death. And I said to her, no, I didn't say. The lady actually said to my mother then that it's one thing for us all to know that we must die at some point in time in our lives. Who knows? We don't know when our time of death is. But it's another thing if you almost died, if you were basically there and people were scrambling around your bed and fighting to keep you alive. She said, that's trauma. That is trauma which I never addressed, which maybe I should go and see a therapist, and maybe I should address it. So, yeah, that's scary. But like I said, I think at some point, no, I don't think I was. There was a point in my life where I was socially phobic. So much so that I used to get panic attacks to meet if I had to meet strange people. That was very, very, very stressful for me, and actually so much so that I would involuntarily started to cry. I'm not talking about years and years and years ago. I was in my early mid-20s. And then they also say that highly sensitive people get like an overload, or they experience that they get an overload of all their senses, the 5 senses. Yeah, sight, smell, taste, touch, and sound. Your five senses, which definitely is a problem for me. I've got not sight so much. I must say I've got problems driving at night, because I find that the lights of the oncoming traffic and the street lights confuses me. I can't judge distance of when I can maybe turn in front of a car, and I cannot go out in natural daylight without sunglasses. My eyes are very light sensitive. But I think the bulk of my problems that I experience sit in my ears. I've got terrible, terrible problems with my hearing. And certain pitches and frequencies affect my hearing more than others. I don't, maybe the fact that I played piccolo in the orchestra, which is the highest instrument in the symphony orchestra, and the pitch is really high. I used to practice with gun ear muffs or put silicone plugs in my ear just to sort of try and preserve some of the hearing, that I don't mess my hearing up completely. And then I had an attack of Meniere syndrome, which Irina had a vertigo spell now quite recently at her school, and I don't know whether it's in our family because my mom had vertigo or Meniere syndrome also in the mid in the 40s, I would say, of her life. And once you've had that, you are plagued with vertigo, tinnitus, balance problems, pressure problems in your ear. And I find that the most debilitating, I would say, of all my symptoms. Everything goes and starts in my head and in my ears. If my head and my ears go, then I must know I am now really getting sick. It's not just going to be a light cold. I'm now in for a hard ride. Medicine. If I have a reaction to medicine, it affects my ears. I have now been having constant problems with pressure in my ears. I don't know if my blood pressure is very high. I need to go and see my doctor. I have not been to my doctor after I got the results of the colonoscopy and the scope back. And I have been struggling with a sore throat, a runny nose, a scratchy throat that it just doesn't want to go away. It's just sitting there. And not really feeling very good. It varies. It goes up and down all the time. And I have been feeling very tight on the chest lately, problems breathing, getting tight-chested, and then the ears, this pressure in the ears. So I started to drink that one tablet, which was one of the culprits that mucked my stomach lining and colon lining up again, because it suppresses the adrenaline and it regulates the heart rate a little bit. But I had to take a tablet this morning, and I normally don't. I normally just take it here in the early evening. So I feel that something is going on, something is brewing. I'm not quite sure what. But in any case, then sensitivity to caffeine and medications. The medication thing I'm going to do a separate video on, because although I do not have medicine-induced hypersensitivity syndrome, that takes you to death's door. I don't have that, but I did do some research. I will do a different video on that, which do explain really what is going on with me. But I do have some bizarre reactions to medication, simple medication. So taking medication and controlling my medication is very, very difficult. At this point in time, when the stomach thing started, the doctor stopped everything. So I'm not drinking any of my heart medication, nothing whatsoever. I started to become sensitive for the pill that I drank to sort of help with the uncomfortableness in my stomach so that I can eat a little bit more. I started to get severe headaches. Um, and when I did go and read about the side effects, if you take this specific medicine for a certain amount of time, then that was one of the side effects that you can start struggling with is the pressure in your ears and the headaches. So I decided to not drink that anymore. So at this point in time, I'm really not drinking any any medication, which makes me such a high risk for another heart attack. And yes, but what can I do? If I drink the medicine, there's no, I don't really have any quality in life. Uh, it's just a whole big mess up. But I wasn't going to discuss this in this specific video. This video is about being a hypersensitive person, and I'm going to have to do this video in two as well because I'm already on 47 minutes and my phone camera is going to cut out soon. So I think I'm going to say goodbye, and then I will pick this up then in another video.